Many of Kerby's books are filled with pages where the animals burst into objects, fly everywhere. There's bits, there's bobs, there's there's like, what's up, what's down, God help me. What is that? Is that a rabbit? Is it a mouse? I don't know. What am I coloring? Ah, chaos, right? Especially in Imagimorphia, where the whole book is like that. The description is literally dive into my high definition, super detailed world where animals, objects, and landscapes explode and morph into astounding detail. It is so much fun, but it is also, it spells chaos, it spells decision fatigue, and confusion. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I break all of that down to have so much fun. As you've probably figured out by now, there are two major pain points when it comes to these kind of pages. Number one being decision fatigue, and number two, color harmony. Like, how are you supposed to sort that out? Example, the cover. There's an animal. He's like, oh yeah, eagle. And then it's like chaos, chaos, chaos. I'm going to show you how I unpack each page so that the chaos turns into creativity and fun, because I believe that this is achievable for everyone, and I want to show you how, because I know that it's possible. You can do it. This is my, how do I hold it? This is my most recently completed page, and we're going to go through this today. I'm going to show you how I go from go to woe, how I go from chaos to calm. Yeah, because this is achievable, this is doable, this is fun, and I want to show you how. Most likely, if you've clicked on this page, if you've clicked on this thumbnail and you've seen this and it's interested you, you want to learn how to improve your Kerby coloring skills. We all do. I do. We're here, right? I'd love to get you to the point where you can just approach Kerby pages with confidence, and you've tackled the decision fatigue, and you go in with this beautiful creative flow, and it's just this wonderful experience. That's what we're all about. So without me rambling on too much, let's get to it. I'm going to race you. While I am applying some masking fluid, let me just talk you through my first initial thoughts of the page. Before I even choose my colours, I do a quick assessment of the elements on the page. So when I open it up, there's obviously a fox. It's pretty standard. And then underneath, we have all our little chaos and riot of characters here. Now, usually with these type of pages, there is a theme to it. So upon quick analysis, you can tell that it is a jungle/forest theme. So this makes it really easy to work with, because forest themes are one of my favorite themes to color. So you might notice with some other pages that there could be, in the breakaway images, there could be some toys, it could be steampunk, it could be floral. There's usually a theme, which makes it really easy for you to start piecing together those color choices in your mind. Now, I know for this one that when I saw the fox, I knew immediately that I wanted him to be, or her, I knew that I wanted our cute little fox to be orange. So that was super easy. And secondly, for the background, because the background is covering up, more than half of this entire image, I knew that I wanted to do pink, because I love the combination between pink and orange. And so that was half of my decision already done. Half of the page already decided for was pink and orange. And I'm starting off here with a lighter pink, so this is more of a peachy pink. And I'm actually just playing around with my new ink brushes, so you'll see me just go back and forth with different sizes until I find something that I'm happy with. And as I'm colouring in my background, I am thinking about the types of colours that I want for my theme down there underneath the fox. Leaves can be really easy, because what do we have to choose from? We could go autumnal shades, but I'm going green, so that actually makes it super easy. And I'm already thinking about, okay, so yes, I'm going to go green. What type of green am I going to do? I'm going to choose a bright, vibrant green for this. And I know that bright, vibrant greens go really well with pinks and oranges, because they pop and they contrast really well. So that makes the decision nice and easy. And I'm looking at this and I can see that a lot of the images are leaves anyway. So I know that I have a whole lot of items already covered. So I'm trying to decide things to color first. I'm trying to get big decisions out of the way, because then it's going to mean that we can focus on the complicated ones till last, or the things that aren't that obvious, we can focus on that last. In this image, we have a lot of cartoon characters. There's the little dudes with the hairdos. There's some Care Bears in there. There's these little floaty things. There's some really funny looking rabbits. And I know that I'm not going to worry about that until the end. So I don't have to waste my energy on that now. So I don't have to decide on them now. I know that my leaves are going to be green. And I have a feeling that my flowers are going to be pink, but I'm just going to focus on the leaves for now, which gives me a lot of satisfaction because I'm not feeling stressed about how this is going to turn out, because I'm just focusing on what I know is going to work for now, and I'm worrying about the rest later. And I absolutely am 100% obsessed with these ink brushes. I do have the ink brushes and I have the ink pads. And now the ink brushes are so much more suitable to me and the way that I colour and my hand pressure and all of that. So I am absolutely in love with these, and they are really easy to clean. I think I got them for like $20 on Amazon. I can link them in the description if you're after some cheap ones as well. I'm sure there's lots of different varieties of these in terms of like colour and quality and all the rest. And you can see already this is looking very vibrant, and I'm really happy with my decision to go pink for the background. So because the background is so vast, it's good because I don't have to make too many decisions with the background. I can just go, yep, it's pink, we're colouring it pink. So I don't have to analyse it too much. You don't have to use Distress ink, you could use Neocolor too. However, I'm trying to conserve all of my mental energy for the Where's Wally scenario that's going on down the bottom, hence why I've just gone for a plain background with a little bit of a gradient. So we're going to be blending that bright, light peachy pink colour in with the hot pink, and it comes out really well. At this point, I am wondering if I've masked up with the masking fluid a little bit too heavy, and when I start to peel it off, you'll see that I start to rip some of the paper off, which is interesting because this is the third time that I'm using Distress inks, so I very much still have my training wheels on with this. However, I did not tear any of the pages when I was using masking fluid on Millie Marotta's books. However, this is the first time that I'm doing it in a Kerby book, and the paper just did not cope with the fluid, so I'm going to have to try a few different things and maybe not go as heavy, because you can see there's some really dark yellow spots that I've probably gone too heavy with it. So here I'm just enjoying myself. I am thinking about the middle bit. Like I was saying before, I know that I want green, and I'm thinking a little bit about that, but I'm trying not to focus on it too much. I'm just trying to enjoy this process, and I'm probably more focusing on the fox because I know that I'm going to colour him next. And like I said before, we've chosen some oranges, and I'm going to go with some burnt oranges because that's just what I'm feeling. Because I don't want everything to look too fluoro, because if I go super neon orange for the fox, because the background's already so dark, it's just going to look too much. And you can see there that, yes, I am still a novice when it comes to Distress ink and the masking. You can see that I've missed quite a few bits, and there is my paper rippage, which I am annoyed about, but I can apply some pencil to that. I know that I've got a couple of colours and I'm going to work well with that, so I'm not too stressed. But I was definitely surprised. Let me know in the comments if you have had any trouble with Kerby paper with pulling off the masking fluid. At this point, I'm definitely thinking I need to get a masking fluid pen so that the fluid output is a little bit more controlled. Okay, so now we are diving deep into our colouring of the fox, and I'm starting with, this is a Tuscan red. No, I think this is terracotta actually. Yeah. So I'm starting with some really burnt oranges, and I'm just going in the darkest shaded areas. If you've watched some of my Kerby commentaries before, you would know that I like to start on the darkest areas, and that's where I apply my colors because that's where the shadows already are. So I use Kirby's cross-hatching and his sketching as a guide. And sometimes we can look at animals and we can look at all the complex shading that we have on them, and we think that we have to follow every single line. Now you don't. See how I'm just putting the darkest colors on some of the areas? I'm not putting it on all. For different objects, say if it was like a wave or something like that, then I would, but because this little guy is furry and it's a different texture, I'm just focusing on some things because I don't want him to look so heavily shadowed and marked up that he kind of looks a bit patchy, if that makes sense. One of the tricks that I find has really helped in choosing where to apply my darkest colors is not only putting them where Kerby has shaded the heaviest, but also unfocusing my eyes a little bit. And by unfocusing my eyes, it actually allows me to see the forest for the trees, if that makes sense. And you get to you see more of the whole outline of the animal. So when I unfocus my eyes, I can see his snout, I can see his head and his neck, and I know that that's where I'm going to apply the shading. So I'm trying to just pull out the perspective a little bit so that it helps me not go so heavy-handed. And then this is a lovely pumpkin orange. Now, if you are after all the colours that I have used for this page, I will list them and show them to you in my April completed pages. And in the ears there, I've chosen a very dark brown just so I can really hone in on that shadowing. And again, you can see how I'm not going over every single line. I'm just choosing sections. So I'm going more detailed when it comes to the fur around the neck. But when I get to the snout, I'm going to smooth that out a lot more because I want to kind of contour his whole snout. I don't necessarily want to just have patchy bits everywhere. Now, this is just my preference. I have definitely done it the other way where I have put the darkest colour on every bit of line work that you can see. And for me personally, I just don't like how it looks. I much prefer just doing it in big sections like this and just letting Kerby's line work just speak for itself. And I'm using my colouring and Kerby's shading to complement each other, if that makes sense. Now see here how I'm contouring the fox and I'm just using his snout as a bit of a guide. And yeah, I'm letting Kerby's lines just be the fur. I'm not trying to like individually colour in the fur with each individual strand. And again, by doing it this way, it just reduces my decision fatigue. So I'm not focusing on, there's not so many little decisions I need to make about where to put this and where am I going to put this colour and how about this colour. It's like, okay, this is the area that I'm focusing on. And it makes it so much enjoyable to colour because I know, again, I want to conserve my creative energy for the riot of artwork that we have down the bottom. And I did find that with this process, I kept on unfocusing my eyes at certain points just to make sure that I had it in the right perspective. I don't necessarily like to do too much detail when it comes to the big objects and subjects like this, especially with this fox. So you can see I'm just going over big areas here and letting Kerby shading do the work for me. And by doing that, that allows me to have nice big areas for the light source. As you can see, I've got that white strip on his forehead there, so that is where I'm going to save for my lightest colour, so I'm not going to be overwhelming it with too many layers of darker colors at the top of his head. I'd more want to keep the darker colors for the layers of fur and under his neck and behind his ears. And of course, I'm just conscious of, because we've got a lot of his fur is actually blending into the objects down the bottom. So I'm just fading it out a little bit. I know that I will go back later and fill in more bits, but I'm just leaving that blank for now. And that's the thing too. I think we forget that we can go back in. We don't necessarily have to get all the colors on one particular subject nailed all at once. We can go back after we've done other areas. And I've chosen a nice green for his eye there because that really pops out from the pink and the orange. And I'm just shading his snout and around his mouth with some light greys because I still want to keep that white, but I'm not just going to leave it pure white because it might look a bit odd. So there are many different ways to colour white, and you can use other colours other than white to colour white. How amazing. Okay, now for my favourite part, which is the leaves here. Now, the way that I choose my colours, so number one, I know that I wanted vibrant greens. Having a look at my leaves here, there are about 5 different types of leaves in this picture. So what I'm doing is I'm making the colour palettes or the colour gradients consistent. So currently this is like spiky ferns. So colour combination 1 is going to be all these spiky ferns. So I'm going through and I'm filling them all in with my base colour. And then colour combination 2 is going to be the next type of leaf. So if you look at the different leaves we've got there, we've got these kind of spiky ones that I'm colouring. I can see some that it look like a shape of a monstera, so some big heart-shaped leaves. And then we've got some narrow leaves that look more like lilies and peace lilies. And so I'm just, rather than decide what colour to colour each individual leaf on the page, because there's probably about 50, I'm just reducing my decisions by just following the rule of leaf type equals color gradient A, and then leaf type B equals color gradient B, so on and so forth. And I'll do that for flowers as well, and I'll do that for every element on the page because, like I was saying, I don't have to think about every single object. The decision's already made for me. I can trust that Kerby's illustrations, if I use this method, I can trust that my page is going to look harmonious and evenly balanced because he's already drawn all the illustrations with balance. So when these particular leaves that I'm colouring now, I know that they're going to be balanced in the page. So I don't have to worry about the page not looking skewy or anything like that, or not harmonious, because he's already drawn it in a harmonious way. He's already placed all the objects and the leaves and the flowers in a balanced way across the page because that's what artists do. Kerby has already done half the work for me when it comes to figuring out how to create harmony, which is fantastic, which is what I love about colouring books, is the artist is already helping you out. They're giving you hints on how you can apply your colours, which is great. And because I am going back and forth across the pages all the time, I am keeping a brush handy and I'm just brushing away the pencil shavings that naturally come off when I colour. Or the like pencil bits, little pencil bits. You know what I mean. And one thing to note too, that while everything is super blank, you're not going to notice every single leaf at that point. The more you colour, the more you'll notice. So I definitely had to go back once I found more of these type of leaves that I've missed, and that's okay. You're not going to see everything and your eye's not going to focus on every single individual object while it's white. It just can't. I mean, if you can, you're amazing. I'll have what you're having. but mine certainly can't. So I find this is why kind of just putting the pieces of the puzzle together one by one and picking the most obvious thing first and the biggest objects first really helps, because it helps me just go through the list, tick off the list. Again, it's just like we're doing a big puzzle, focusing on the easiest things first and the things that I know what they're going to be. So I know that at this point, I think the only thing that I had decided was the type of green I was going to use for the leaves, and I think I knew that I wanted pink and purple flowers, but by this point, I knew that I had to start thinking about the rocks. I had a vague idea. I had no idea about the wood. I had no idea about the little cartoony characters there. I had no idea about the floating leaves up the top of the page there. I just put that in the too hard basket. I was going to worry about that later, which again just helps for easy, stress-free colouring. And again, with these greens, I've just picked my go-to combinations. So this combination here that you're seeing here is dark green, olive green, apple green, and pale sage. This is one of the colour combinations. Well, it's probably my most used green colour combination out of the 30 odd that I have in my notebook that I keep, that I get from other colourists, Pinterest, or I make them up myself. That's just, I get them from all over the shop and I just keep them in a notebook and I can refer to them at any time. And again, it can be a little bit tricky when there's so many objects around, because some of these little leaf fronds are going to be tucked in behind things. There's going to be things sitting on them, like there was that little bug down there. Again, just colour what you can and the rest will reveal itself to you later. So going back and forth is totally normal. Don't worry if you miss things. It's totally fine. Just focus on one thing at a time. And I think this is a really good practice for mindfulness, is we're just focusing on one thing at a time. Try not to let too many things bother us. Like that deer, I was like, what am I going to do there? And the little buggies and the little birdies and all of that. It's like, let's just not think about that for now. And you can see all those little rippy bits in the pages that I've done. Again, I have my training wheels on when it comes to masking fluid and distress ink. I will get better, but I figure the only way to learn is to do. So I'm doing the thing. And finishing off with my pale sage. It's such a nice blender, this one. Lovely. And I think too, when it comes to decisions about the gradient of our colours, I'm trying to keep it fairly basic. So for this particular, like leaf A, for example, I've gone dark in the middle and then worked my way outward towards light. Now, the other direction you could go is the opposite. So you could go dark from the outside, go light in the middle, or you could go start from the left and work your way to the right. So I'm just keeping it really simple. Again, because I'm just trying to space out that mental load and I'm trying not to get too caught up in all the details that I'm going to get tired and start to resent the page, because I don't want that to happen. So this is leaf number 2. Leaf number 2, combination number 2. Now you can see here that I'm changing my gradient. So I've split the leaf in two and I'm working my way from one side to the other. It doesn't matter which side you choose. You could argue that it's better to keep it the same, so keep it on the left to the right. But because the leaves are sticking out every which way, I don't think it matters. And I'm just not worrying about that little detail for now. It's just something that I just don't need to worry about. And I will note too that all the colours in my colour gradient, so I think I'd chosen about 5 or 6 that were all they all had vibrant greens in them. I've kept them all the same. So I think I had about maybe I would like to say about 10 greens that I'd chosen. And I just mixed and matched them all to create different color combinations, because that's what's got to keep it fairly harmonious as well, is not having too many different shades of green. Just trying to keep it all within, like, okay, I'm going really saturated greens, deep colors, and keep it as simple as that. I was trying not to bring any of the muted greens in, trying not to bring any aquas into the leaves or anything like that. Just trying to keep it fairly simple, because I feel like if you go too not out of the box, but if you try and bring in like bright and muted and all of that, you have the potential for it not to look as harmonious. I mean, if you're an amazing colorist, you're probably going to make it work, but I know for me, there are limits to my creativity at this point, so I know that I need to just keep it to the bright greens. And I will point out too that sometimes it's not clear what type of leaf it could be. It could be leaf A, it could be leaf B. Heck, it might even look like an AB hybrid. Just go with the closest thing that you can find. So just pick the leaves that are really obvious. If there's ones that you're not sure of, just leave them till last. So again, you don't have to have this figured out all in one go. It's a process. It's a once you tick something off, then you can move on to the next thing and make decisions from there. You certainly don't have to have it all mapped out in your head at once. I really feel like coloring in pages like this, so these animal breakaway pages where there's objects everywhere, it's kind of like putting a puzzle together where you don't have the picture on the box and you don't know how it's going to turn out. Unless you're very visual and extremely talented in that area when it comes to visualizing every single color, I certainly can't. I don't try and picture every little detail at once. I just go with what's really obvious to me. I start there and I work my way through. But again, there are some people that can visualize every single thing. Again, I'll have what you're having, but I certainly can't. As these leaves are being coloured in, we can start to see the harmony that's already been created with the leaf placement. So even how Kerby's drawn and placed these two types of leaves is really nice, and it's very balanced. No matter what colour we choose, there is going to be some kind of balance to the page, because like I was saying before, the illustrator has already done some of the work for us. So not all of the stress is on us. Not that you should be stressed, but not all of the mental load is on us. So I think it's just trusting that the image you're colouring is already a beautiful image and you're just enhancing it. You're just adding to it. So this is leaf combination number 3, and this is a turquoise green here. So this is a peacock green. And I'm just going to be picking up colours that are already there. So even though this peacock green is a new addition into the green colour palette for this, I'm going to be adding colours that are already in those leaves. I don't want every single leaf to be unique on its own, in terms of I don't want, a certain type of green to only be on one type of leaf. I want it spread across, because that's going to create a bit of colour harmony as well when you're looking at it. And of course, again, it reduces the decision making process of how many greens. It reduces that decision fatigue, the decision overload that we feel that is happening with these type of pages. So this second color here, I've already got it in that leaf next to it. So this is I believe this is grass green, which is already in those frondy looking leaves. So it's already there. So it's going to start, all the little patterns and the colors are going to start weaving together nicely as we bring the colors across multiple elements. So I'm really making these leaves same but different, if that makes sense. And these little monstera leaves, or little heart-shaped leaves, if you will, I missed so many in my first run of colouring these. So I know that as I kept colouring other objects, the more these monstera leaves became apparent to me. So I just went back in and coloured them. So usually what I do as well when I'm doing a big page like this is, as I colour them, pop your pencil off to the side, because then you've got a good pile of the colours that you've already used. And if you need to go back over them, you can quickly just pick it up and you're like, there it is, I know what I've used. And that also helps you to make a decision about like what colours to use next, because you can already quickly glance over at the colours you've already used and you can make a decision whether to bring those in or not. And it just reduces the amount of pencils that you're adding to a page like this. And filling the centers in with that apple green that it was in that first combination. So as you can see, I've brought colors from leaf A and leaf B into leaf C. And again, I'm thinking about the direction of the gradient and the shading in the leaves, but I'm not too stressed about it. I'm not trying to do anything special. I'm just trying to go left, right, up or down, in or out, if that makes sense. Another reason why it's handy to have multiple colors across similar objects is because you might have a limited pencil selection. You might only have a set of 60 pencils. You might not have the full 150 Prisma set. So by mixing your colors and bringing them across into multiple elements, you're going to get multiple uses out of them and you won't feel like you're just stuck for choice. So by this point with the leaves, I know that there's a few leaves to go, but I'm already starting to think of the next thing. And I know that I want to start bringing some darker colors through in the background underneath the leaves because we've got a lot of layers here. One way that I combat that is by shading it all, which I will show you in a sec. Getting ahead of myself. Oh, just look at those rips in the paper. That's all right. Everything's fixable. And again, bringing in colors that I've already used in other color combinations. I think we're up to like leaf D, the fourth leaf. And as you can see, even though we've only coloured 4 different types of leaves, look how much we have already filled in and look how easier this makes it to see the other objects that are in the pile. Okay, so in here, I'm going in with a 90% warm grey, and I'm just filling in the darkest spots that are hidden underneath. And I'm now colouring in all these little bushy things because that is the next biggest object that I can see that's the most obvious, apart from the rocks, of course. But I'm sticking to the plants at the moment, so I'm going in with a dark colour because it's just going to create a bit of light and shade, and from there I will colour in with extra green. Green can be either warm or cool, so I'm just going in with a warm grey. You could choose cool grey, you could use espresso, you could use a dark brown. With this type of technique, it really doesn't matter, just as long as you're just using a darker colour just to fill in those gaps. And again, I'm just looking for where Kerby has done his heaviest shading, and I'm just filling them in, and I plan to add other colours such as dark green in there as well. Because he's layered everything so well, I'm colouring it as almost as if, there could be more leaves behind it. There could be more bits and pieces that aren't in focus. I'm just filling them in. This is, I suppose, an equivalent to a stocking filler at Christmas. Just filling in all those little blank spaces. Because again, that is going to bring all the other elements forward, which is what I want, because I'm trying to hone in on the focus. I'm trying to bring in other objects through so I can see them. And I'm just starting from the darker spots and bringing the darker colour up towards the top, so I'm mainly going in the one direction. And I've chosen to use a dark grey. I think it's just stylistic preference. I don't really like the look of black and green together, so by using a 90% warm grey, it's looking quite dark, but it's not as harsh. And again, that's just a stylistic preference of mine. When it comes to these things, it just softens it up a whole bit. But there certainly have been times that I've used black, but I would use black if it's a very heavy page that has a lot of other black areas and shading. But for this, because there's not, and I find that the greys really go well with the green too. And because I know at this point, I know what I'm going to do with the rocks, and so I'm thinking that the grey is going to look really well. And again, you will miss these little bits. There were so many little bushy bits that I missed, and so many background areas that I missed between the leaves. So it's just a matter of, as they become apparent, just going back. So you do your first lap where you can get all the obvious bits, and then do another lap. As I was colouring areas, I noticed bits that I missed, and rather than just saying, oh, I'll get back to that, I just went in straight away and did it while I could see it, because I know that if I came back to it 10 minutes later, I might not be able to see it. Unless I looked very closely for it, of course. And at this point, I'm really just getting into a creative flow. And sometimes there are a lot of bits and bobs in the background where I just don't know exactly what they were. So if I wasn't quite sure, I just covered them up. I literally just coloured over them in grey because I had no idea. I was like, yeah, bye bye. And again, there's absolutely no rules to this. If you just want to use the one combination for all of the leaves, then that's fine too. This was just my preference because both of these combinations that you can see here. So we've got that yellow, the dark green to yellow green, and then the true green colours. I knew both of these were going to work, and I like both, so I decided to have both in. I'm just favouring the true green colour a little bit more, just because I like it a little bit more. Again, I'm just fanning the colour outwards as I'm going up the gradient, leaving a little bit of a gap. Leaving some of those little bushy bits further towards the bottom blank because I'm going to colour those in later. Just for a couple of highlighted areas. It just adds a bit of interest to the page. But again, if that's just TMI, then don't worry about it. In some sections, it's really hard to tell what's foliage and what's rock. So just do what you think it is, and if it's wrong, it doesn't matter. Because with things like this, there's so much going on that it's going to be hard to see anyway. And by filling in these little background areas and these little folded, faded little behind the scenes areas, it's actually bringing the rest out forward to me, so things are beginning to not look as overwhelming. And another reason why it's good just to have a pile of the pencils that you use next to you is that if you do find a spot that you've missed, you can quickly reach for that colour and go back over it. You don't have to fish through your pencil case again. Again, it's all about the efficiency and reducing that decision fatigue so that you can focus on the object that you're colouring and focus on mindfulness and let the creativity flow. Oh, I just love this true green combination. I say true green because if you look at a colour wheel and there's like greens, yellow greens, blue greens, this combination is like smack bang in the middle of green. I love it. It's so nice and vibrant. And it goes so well against the hot pink and the fox as well. And it's not so neon that everything just looks like bleh, there is light and shade. Now I'm starting the rocks, and I have chosen my French grey combination for this. So I'm actually just working up the gradient. So I'm starting with the 90% French grey. And if you're using Prismacolors, I'll definitely recommend trying out the French greys because they are a little bit more brown. If you swatch all the greys out, compared to the cool greys and the warm greys, the French greys just have this lovely brown tint to them, and I'm using them because I know brown really pops next to pinks, oranges, and greens. So I'm choosing that for that purpose. And because I just really like the French greys, I feel like they're really underrated. I use them all the time. And because I can never decide whether rocks are grey or brown, so I'm like, why don't we do both? So I'm just starting from the bottom and working my way up and starting from the most heaviest shaded areas. I'm not stressing too much about following the lines. I'm thinking about it a little bit, but because everything is super layered, I'm more just trying to focus on the shadows and just letting Kerby's illustrations and his line work speak for themselves. At this point, I don't feel like I need to enhance them in any way. I'm like, yep, they're there. Let's do some shading. And going in behind those leaves as well. And look how much more everything is just being brought out into focus. Especially now my eyes can start to see that water well there, and that's looking less overwhelming because everything else around it is being coloured. And I'm realising that there's not as many like cartoon characters and birds and little bears and angry foxes and rabbits and stuff that I initially thought there was. So I'm starting to feel even better about this. And I'm just tackling it one object at a time. Now, I should have said at the very beginning that there are multiple ways in which you can approach these animal flyaway pages. However, I found that this is what works for me and this is what brings me the most satisfaction and the most joy while staying super creative. Now, don't let the time of this video fool you. This double page spread did take me 12 hours to complete in total. I added everything up when I was filming. I just speed it up so we're not sitting here for 12 hours. And so that I'm not talking for 12 hours. I mean, I do have a limit to my word count. As much as you might be like, no, you don't. I do. So please don't be disheartened if this page if these type of pages take you forever. They do take a long time simply because of all the detail work. But again, breaking it up like we're doing makes them so much more enjoyable. And I think with the French greys, I end up, I think I go 90 to 50 straight away because the rocks aren't that big actually. And in the color gradients with the greys, I think you have about 5. So I think it goes 90%, 70, 50, 30, 20, 10. So I usually skip 1 or 2. If I was coloring a massive object, then I'd probably keep them all in, but because I'm not. See how they've just got that really nice beigey browny tint to them and how they're just making the green pop? You could do them grey if you want to, but I'm choosing the French greys because they are just that little bit warmer. And I know that I'm going to be bringing in some brown colours as well with the well, and there's also a couple of little architrave little bits and bobs to do too. So I know that the rocks and these wood colours are going to go very nicely together. And now I'm doing the wood elements because I can see them a little bit more. At the very start, I really couldn't tell the difference between the fox, the wood, and the leaves. I was like, I don't know what's what. So hence why I'm leaving it to now. So usually with this stuff, there's a very specific order that I do, and it's usually based on what I can see the easiest and what's the biggest. And with the wood, I'm just picking a couple of browns in a gradient. I'm just going for some nice, like, would you call it? That they're like warm, neutral browns. I don't know. I think this is chocolate, which is a go-to. It's just a nice brown. If you were going for more of an oriental feel, you could color these in red. But I just wanted to stick to jungle themes. I was like, yep, that'll do. Not that'll do, but that's what I like. And at this point, I haven't touched the flowers yet because I'm still forming in my mind what color I want to make them, and I'm just waiting until these other elements are colored in just so I can confirm that my thoughts are actually going to go. So by this point, I know that I want some pinky purples, but I'm just waiting for other elements to be colored in before I confirm that. And that's what I find a lot of the time too. It's like, I think I know what I want, but I'm just going to wait until the other elements are colored in. So now I'm just going in with the little tidbits. So there's little stalks, there's little random blades of grass. So I'm just highlighting these with a lighter color. So this is apple green, and I'm adding in a spring green and a pale sage as well. So because majority of my greens are that true green color, I'm just adding some highlighted green bits in because it just brings a bit of balance and a bit of depth. Because I don't want to have the whole image so heavy and dark that it just looks like it's at nighttime or something, if that makes sense. Like, I'm just trying to make sure that there's just as much highlights as there is low lights. And because I've already used the apple green in a lot of the leaves, I just want to bring that out too. And the spring green is just a nice, bright addition to add in between the apple and the pale sage. Again, I will have a full list of colours that I will show you when I do my completed pages. I just don't usually like to say every single colour that I'm using because I feel like it can restrict some of us sometimes because we might be using other pencil brands or we might not like the particular green that's being shown. So I'm just trying to give you a demonstration of like the types of colours that I'm using so you can make a creative decision yourself. So in my colour alongs, I'll definitely be like, this is the pencil, here's the name, here's the number. But in these kind of chatty tutorials, it's more about the demonstration and the visual and the harmony that you can see more than like copy this specific color combination. This is the dioxazine purple. I think that's how you say it. Because I'm going for, yes, I've decided to go for pinky purpley flowers. I'm far enough that I know that I'm happy with this combination and that it's going to work. It's not going to be too lost and it's not going to blend in too much with the background. And hence why, this is also why I've got that kind of ring of that lighter rose color as well, that peachy pink color, is so that when I do have darker flowers, they're not going to be, apart from this one here, they're not going to be too lost. Because I don't want the background and the foreground to be blended too much. I really do want the focus to be on the illustration. And I'm just going up the gradient. So I started with a very like true purple, like a violet purple, and I'm going through to more magenta-y colors. Because these work really well against the green and against the orange. They contrast very well. And again, don't worry too much if you're not quite sure, again with the leaves, how we have combination 1, 2, and 3, etc. It's the same thing with the flowers. I keep the same type of flower to the same color gradient. Sometimes I do get it wrong because it's hard to tell the difference. And I do know that there's one which I shouldn't have colored, but I do color in this purple. But again, it doesn't matter. It's these little droppy ones here. And I think I've realized at this point, and I'm just like, oh, it's too late. So it's not going to matter. But see how Kerby's designed them and where he's placed them is already harmonious. So I'm not too worried about, oh, is this going to look harmonious? I know that it is because he's drawn it and he's put it there. So it's going to look fine. So I'm not worrying about color placement, if that makes sense, across the page because I know it's going to work. I hope that makes sense. And there's already a bunch of areas that I know I'm going to color in orange because I want to bring the orange of the fox and just dust it across. Dust it across. So these flower centers, they're going to be orange just to weave that through. You could just have the fox orange and nothing else and that would still work. But for me personally, I just wanted to have orange flower centers, and I wanted to use one of my favorite gel pens, so, you know. And doing these little droppy flowers in similar colors to the background. More of a reddy pink. And you can see how they really contrast against the green. And I'm just doing shading from top to bottom, then side to side again, just to keep it nice and simple because there's so many other decisions that I'm making. And again, at this point, I'm realizing that, yeah, all the little cartoony characters, there's not as many as I originally thought. And I am starting to think about what color I could make them, and which is a decision that I could not possibly make at the beginning. So hence why don't worry about that kind of stuff at the start. Just focus on what you can clearly see and what you can clearly see in your mind's eye. So this is just one example of a color palette that you can do. I know that on the other page, as you flip through towards the back of the book, that there is an owl with a breakaway of a train of toys and clocks and bits and bobs. So for that, you could do rich blues, reds, golds. There's certainly different themes going on that can help us with our color choices. And I'm just making these little bricks of this well also brown because I think it just makes the whole well tie together really well. I didn't necessarily want to bring in yet another grey because there's so many rocks there that are that colour. I think I'd added in a few lighter browns, but I just wanted to match what was already there. And now for the one water source, which is here, which is our waterfall. I do end up bringing some of the blues through some of the characters, but I didn't want too much blue. The blue is just more of a little sprinkle on the top, if you will, opposed to a main colour like the leaves are. I'm just filling in a bit there, and I do plan to go over a lot of those with some white gel pen. And same with these butterflies. I really like colouring insect wings with a pale blue and then going over it in a white gel pen. That's just a preference of mine. I find it just adds this really nice glowy effect, which, again, personal preference. It's how I like to do it. If you like to do it a different way, then absolutely go for your life. These kind of pages are certainly not a one size fits all, and you can see how I'm finding little tidbits that I've missed, just going over them with some colour. Now, it's debatable as to whether this is a fox or a wolf. I'm just making it a fox because there is another fox, and it's giving me an opportunity to reuse colours that I've already used so that I'm not bringing in too many new colours. Again, if you want to make it a wolf, then cool. And going over some bits of the fox that I wasn't quite sure what to do at the very start, and now I've got a better idea, so just bringing that out. And I'm using the same colours that I used for the fox's eyes for these little Duvalaki crazy cats down here. I don't know what they are. You could make them like little rocks with faces and hairdos, but I've decided to bring out those lovely chartreuse colours. Because there's a few of them there, and Look at that rabbit on the left-hand side. Isn't that the most creepiest thing you've ever seen? I think I'll end up like drawing a question mark over his head because I'm like, what is this? And I don't know what this is either. I'm just coloring it orange because it looks like an orange. I was like, that'll do. I'm not too worried about these little characters at this point. I really feel they're not the main focal point for me. They're just a fun little addition to the page. Crazy rabbit. There's this little crazy rabbit here too. I don't know what that is. Oh, he's so crazy with his smile. I'm like, stop looking at me. I didn't do it. And with this little deer too, so I'm just adding in some browns. So I'm picking up on the brown theme and the orange theme, and I'm just blending that together because, again, I don't want too much new stuff going on. And I actually really like blending in orangey browns with really muted browns. You get this really cool effect. And if there's things that are very obvious that I haven't coloured in yet, it's because I'm leaving them for gel pen. We know I love a good gel pen. Yeah, we do. And again with this little house, I'm really just recycling colours, guys. Just using what I've already got. As much as I would love to just colour that over in black. Oh, sometimes the little objects, I'm like, nah. And I'm just using a colour that I've already used for the flowers for the little birds there and the little snake. So again, just colours that I've already got. You could bring in new ones if you wanted to, but for me, it was just going to be too much. On a page that's already busy, I just didn't want too many chefs in the kitchen, so hence why I'm just bringing in colours that I've already used. And this to me, this looks like a Care Bear, so he had to be blue. And this angry rabbit over here. There's some crazy rabbits in this picture. And let's not forget these. Now, I've left these to the end because I didn't know what colour I wanted to do them until the very end. And I think this nice, bright, yellowy greens go really well. It offsets the pink. And here we are with a gel pen. And I'm using gel pen for this side of the page as well because this is where majority of my Inktense mishap masking problems are occurring. So I'm going over with gel pen because I know that pencil sometimes doesn't cut it when you're trying to cover up ink. And I'm just picking gel pen colours that are within the colours that I've already had in my pencils. And got to add a little bit of gold in there. And then going through with some metallic acrylic markers. I love these and they don't bleed through. So, because on the other image, there is a lot of blank space as well, like this one. So I'm just being really cautious that I'm not going to choose anything that's going to bleed through. Filling in the little caterpillars. There are a couple of caterpillars. There's one, I think there's about 3 on this page. And filling in this random flower, there's only one of these. And the reason why I'm going such a dark gel pen colour is to cover up that ink. And these little wispy doodad foggy things, I'm just making them silver. So it's like mystical clouds, you know? And there's that dark gel pen again. That is a dual hybrid. So that has dark purple ink and blue glitter. It's absolutely lovely. And finding more rocks that I have omitted, didn't see until now. And these little frondy curly things, they're like smaller versions of what I'd coloured in the green gel pen. However, I'm just want to bring a bit more pink into the mix. And I always have a black Posca on hand just to fill in some of the detail of the eyes and also that beak. If you don't have a black Posca, just a black gel pen's fine. And again, just bringing out that orange in the gel pen, that's just going to blend with the fox. And more pink on the mushrooms. You could make those red, however, I was like, oh, I don't have red anywhere else. Hence why I was like, pink will do. Pink's good. If I had had some red in the flowers, then I could have made them bright red, but because I didn't, we're just going to stick with pink. And oh, I absolutely just love the combination of orange and green and pink and purple. It's just so nice. And a few gold metallic bobs. That is just a gold metallic paint pen that I am using, and I accidentally colour over some of the leaves in the background, but oh well, no one will know. Well, you know now, but you know, anyone that I was telling would be like, what? So don't worry too much if you colour over things that are not that are not meant to be what they are. It's just, there's so much going on, don't worry about it. And that trident, just making that gold because I just wanted to bring in more gold and I like this marker. So, and covering over that metal like plate in the middle because I didn't know what to do, so I just coloured it over. If you followed my colouring enough by now, you'd know that if I get confused by something, I just colour it over. Okay, see you, bye. There's the question mark. I did not know what that little guy was. And I like to colour, yeah, so like I was saying before with the insect bodies, I like to leave them glowing, and often I like to have their little bodies in black because it does just, little black accents just can really brighten up everything and just make everything pop. And I'm going to leave that card just blank. I don't know what to make of it. I'm just going to leave it. And I feel like it's got a bit of distressed ink in there anyway, so I'm just going to leave it. And look at that. Harmonious, stress-free, and fun, chaotic colouring. This is the end of everything. Is this the end of everything? No. Hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope that you have taken away some Kerby tips as we all take one step closer to Kerby mastery. If you haven't already, please consider giving my channel a subscribe, hit that like button for more videos. If you're interested in further videos on how I tackle tough pages full of details and full of shenanigans, you can head to this next video that is up on the screen now. Yeah, you can. Do it. Anyway, I'll see you soon. Bye.